All right. Hi, Chris. My name is Karina. I work with the Career Center, and I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thank you.
So if you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company and organization, that would be great.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate the invite. We've had some great experience with students from your university and always love to go to the career fairs. So I was excited to try this as well. So my name is Chris Crosby. I am the Talent Acquisition Manager for Telecare Corporation, which is a behavioral health organization. When I was preparing for this, I looked at a couple of things that may be interesting for your students. And I looked, number one, at our mission statement, which starts with respect, recovery, and results. Telecare's mission is to deliver excellent and effective behavioral health services that engage individuals with complex needs to help them recover their health hopes and dreams. Telecare has been, it was founded in 1965, and we've really grown to adapt to meet changing needs, not only with our evolving clinical practices, but with our full spectrum of services as well. We are a family and an employee-owned company, and proud of our outstanding results, our programs to achieve and to inspire by the individuals and the stories that we hear of recovery each and every day. When I think about our operations in Washington, which is most pertinent to your students, we currently operate 14 programs in the state of Washington in the counties of King, Thurston, Mason, Pierce, Grays Harbor, and Skagit. And besides the great benefit package, Telecare also provides tuition reimbursement, scholarships, and support for the personal and professional growth of our staff. At Telecare, we believe in recovery. We believe that every person has the ability to achieve their full potential. We provide recovery-focused services for persons with mental illness and complex needs. Our programs transform lives, generate measurable outcomes, and reduce financial costs for the community. We design our services to respond to local needs, and we function as a strategic, accountable, and experienced partner within the system of care.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I think the first question that we would want to address for students, if you can just talk a little bit about what is your normal recruiting or hiring schedule and process, that would be helpful for them to know and understand.
So like a lot of companies, we've got our external webpage. We have all of our jobs posted online. In some of the flyers that I included back to you, it's at telecarecorp@jobs.com. It is listed on there. So a lot of it starts with a fairly traditional online application. In light of some of the current situations, I've been working very closely with my leadership in the Washington area and Oregon programs to start to get a little more virtual. Phone screen, Skype interviews, Zoom interviews to help expedite the process, as well as maintaining patient safety, staff safety, and we've had a lot of success. So online application leads to an interview. Depending on the success of that interview, we may have a team interview where we have like peers and a kind of a variety of clinicians and nursing staff, depending on the person, and then a conditional offer, which obviously includes, because we're a medical facility, physical TB tests, flu shots during flu season, criminal background checks. Fairly straightforward, but what's interesting is in that particular topic, we're having to try to fast forward through some of those things because our occupational health clinics are not as quickly able to provide some of those services. So we're asking actually some of our nurses in the programs to help out with some of those things to make the hiring process even faster.
Oh, good. Okay. Wonderful. The next question is, what are the qualities that you most look for in new hires?
So if we go back to the mission, it's a belief in recovery. The population that Telecare serves, if in broad strokes, are an adult population who've been diagnosed with severe and persistent mental health issues. So a passion for recovery and a belief in each one of our clients' ability to not only identify their own recovery goals, but then make strides toward those goals. When we look at, resumes and backgrounds and things like that, hands-on experience is always preferred, but we hire students. We hire St. Mary's students. We hire interns, and we're involved in the internship process. But if I look at transferable skills, maybe patient care, nursing, home health care, volunteer work with this population, classroom experience in the areas of social work, psychology, and nursing are all things we take into consideration when we're looking at new hires.
Awesome. And then you were saying a little bit about internships. Do you, as a company, do you offer internships for current students that aren't quite ready to graduate yet, but maybe are they able to get internship experience with you?
Yeah, and I think with some of the department heads that we work with, specifically the social work, social services, I think it's typically juniors and seniors.
Okay.
And each program can only take a certain amount, because I know I would have loved to take the entire class, meeting a lot of them at some of the face-to-face career fairs. We are one of the options that some of those great professors have identified to get practical experience for their graduates. So I know the last time we were there, it feels like months and months ago, but I think it was only a little while ago that we had the last St. Martin's Fair. I think that I had met 2 or 3 that had already been at Telecare facilities, and a couple that were vying for it.
Wonderful. Okay, well, that's good to know. So when students go to apply, what do you look for in application materials in terms of, resumes, cover letters? What do you specifically look for?
So I don't need a cover letter.
Okay.
And this is not for when I was looking at this question, this is not necessarily just for Telecare. This is 20 plus years of recruiting and staffing experience. Resumes that are not cookie cutter. An employer knows when you are sending out the one resume that you created 8 months ago to every single job opportunity, and it's bland and it's vanilla and it's not specific to the job. So even small changes to people's resumes that show prospective employers that you've taken the time to highlight your education and experience to the job that you're applying for, it really makes a difference. If your education is what's going to get you your next job, that needs to be at the top, not buried at the bottom. Just because somebody else's format had it at the bottom doesn't mean that that's right for you. I would look at it, look at the job description and say, is the number one thing that they're looking for highlighted number one on my resume? That's my general advice to everyone who's looking for work. One of the challenges that we come up with is Telecare does hire what we call peer specialists, which are individuals in our community that have lived experience, that have been, for example, in a Telecare facility in Western States Hospital, have gone through recovery, or are in sobriety recovery, addiction recovery. And I've come across resumes from individuals that traditionally you don't put that on your resume, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But for my peers, which bring such experience, strength, and hope of their own recovery experience, you've got to have a peer resume. You've got to have that information on there, because some of the experience that some of our best employers bring are because they have lived through that. They've gone through recovery and they want to bring that experience to help others.
That's wonderful advice, because it's something that for sure our students would not know that, or that's something that applies to them. That's comforting for them to know that that's okay to put those types of things on the resume, or the way in which to order it is great too. So yeah, thank you. That's very good advice. So are you looking for someone with any special credential or practical experience? I know you kind of touched on that a little bit, but do you want to elaborate a little bit more?
And it really, when I thought about this question, it really there are different levels. If you think about a behavioral health facility, there are what we call recovery specialists, which are sometimes students, sometimes CNAs, sometimes very hands-on patient care staff. But as we start to look higher on the clinician level and the registered nurses, for example, that's when we start to look for people who finish their bachelor's degree, people who finish their master's degree. Typically, these are social services, psychology. Obviously, anybody who has their RN, their LPN, their CNA, automatically qualifies for some of the roles, because we do hire RNs and LPNs right out of school. CNAs, we've had a lot of success with those hands-on patient care, what we call recovery specialist roles, or mental health recovery specialists. One of the things that we've actually had a lot of success with nursing students with before they're licensed is getting them into those hands-on patient care, because typically if they're going for their RN, for example, maybe they've had a CNA at one point and they've had that hands-on patient care. And for almost all of the roles, because a lot of the programs that we have in Washington are 24-hour facilities, they're 3-shift, an AM shift, a PM shift, and an overnight shift. Students can get what we call a short hour role, which is 2 shifts a week. And for example, some of them don't start until 3. So we have a lot of flexibility with some of these. If someone wants to do on-call or short hour or even weekends work, where they can continue to have a full-time focus toward their education, but also get hands-on experience and get a little money.
That's great. That's so nice to have that flexibility to kind of work around their current class schedule, or whatever it is that they're working on. So that's great. I mean, I can appreciate that too, especially being a graduate student right now. I'm thinking, man, that sounds really nice.
Thank you.
So what open positions do you anticipate having this year in terms of jobs or internships?
Yeah. So this last month has been really eye-opening, and I was talking with my team about this afternoon. Before I came to Telecare about 6 years ago, I used to work for a staffing agency that would send out temporaries and contractors. And right now there's 2 kinds of staffing agencies in the communities. Ones that are hearing, we're not hiring, we're closing our doors, we're suspending anything right now. And then those who work in the medical industry who are obscenely busy. And Telecare is in the medical industry, we're in the behavioral health industry. We're not going anywhere. This segment of behavioral health services, not only in the state of Washington, but in the United States, is one that will continue to grow alongside the medical. So we're continually looking for new staff for all of the 14 programs in the state of Washington in the areas of recovery, social work, and nursing, which is one of the reasons that we continue to like to work with all of the colleges, including St. Martin's, because the next generation of fantastic clinical directors and directors of nursing and program administrators are going to get their hands-on experience at programs, and we'd like those to be ours.
I agree.
So if you were to look at the Telecare website and just kind of like zoom out and look at the entire nation, Telecare operates more than 120 programs in the United States, mostly on the West Coast. There's over 700 jobs right now.
Oh, wow.
There's and none of our programs are closing. None of them are cutting back. Everyone still needs to provide services to this sensitive population.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially now more than ever too. So this is very, very important. So just as a final question, is there anything else that I didn't ask or that we didn't touch on that you think that would be helpful for applicants or for our students to know as they're kind of processing everything?
And we touched on some of these a little bit. I mean, Telecare is open for business and we're hiring right now. We've got open positions. We're doing our best to transition to the new norm of COVID-19 crisis, working to establish best practices around distancing techniques. We've moved much of the interview process to a virtual format, as I mentioned earlier. We've updated our procedures to maximize the safety to our staff, clients, and potential future employees as much as possible. Just kind of being mindful of the current situation. And I gotta say, our management at the programs have really stepped up their game. They've really, not only in working with their own staff, because there's always anxiety. Folks have, people at home that they're concerned about. The school's all closed. Where my child care? We've had lots of challenges that we've had to maintain the staff and continue to grow. And so it's been just really awe-inspiring to see some of the leadership in the state of Washington really rise to the occasion. So we're excited about moving forward, and this too shall pass.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming today and for sharing this information with the students. I know they're going to be very excited to hear it, and hopefully, you know, after they see all of this, if they can, would it be okay for them to reach out and ask any additional follow-up questions that they might have?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I'm sure you'll hear from quite a few of them. So,
Wonderful.
well, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.